So today I would like to talk a little bit on a certain trend I've been noticing in a lot of entertainment forms, commercials, movies, video games, cell phone games, books, everything in that area. And it's something that anyone who's been paying any attention would notice, but I thought it was worth bringing up anyway. And that topic is, why is the modern world so obsessed with medieval culture? Now, if you look at almost any genre out there these days, there's very little that hyper focuses on modern day and like the cool things about modern day. There are a few, but most of them usually try to get a technological aspect, even when it's focusing on modern day. For instance, if you look at anything from Marvel, they always get holograms and, see-through TVs and all these things that seem futuristic. They try to get a touch of modernity, but they don't push it very well. It's always very futuristic. Whereas you look at medieval concepts, and they're usually not 100% accurate. They usually have dragons and witches and warlocks and everything in that area. But there is a lot out there that is based on medieval stuff. I mean, you just look through the bookstore on Amazon Kindle, and all you see are these vampire tales about, princesses and queens and knights and werewolves. Sorry, that's one I forgot. Werewolves is another one. You see a lot of that. And a lot of them are quite hideous in my opinion. I don't agree with them at all in many respects, but at the same time, they still are based on medieval concepts, whether they're warped concept of medieval or not, or a fantasy version of medieval or not. They still are based on that time period, kings and queens and knights and warriors and a deeper sense of meaning to life. When a young boy or girl comes home from school, they play on the cell phone all day, and they watch TV and they play video games, and they don't do anything that has any sense of purpose to it. Whereas in medieval times, there was much more of a sense of purpose. There was no entertainment that was easy. You had to work for your entertainments. Life was much more complex. Nothing came as easy. And that's the way they lived, and they didn't mind it, and they could live with it. Of course, nowadays, we don't have that sense of specialness that just kind of followed doing everything yourself around. For instance, there's this video game out there called Final Fantasy 15. Obviously, most people have heard of it. In Final Fantasy 15, your character pretty much simulates real life. He, goes on road trips in his car. He talks to townsfolk. He goes fishing. He throws darts. He plays with arcade machines. That's another big one. They try to do things that seem very normal and very like, you're not just playing video games on your cell phone all day, you're actually going around doing stuff. And one of the main reasons why this game had so much charm to it, and it really is a good game, trust me, Final Fantasy 15 is a wonderful game. I've even written a review on Wattpad about it. These type of things seem to bring more charm to humanity than modern day technology, modern day life, driving to work every day, working at a computer job or a factory or something to that effect and not enjoying anything about it, going home, turning on your computer, watching some YouTube videos, checking out Facebook, playing video games. All this stuff is just not really what seems to promote much happiness in the human mind. The human requires a sense of deeper meaning to everything. Even in entertainment, even in the way we live, there needs to be a deeper sense to everything. A slight hardship helps. That type of idea. Something that isn't easy to get. When everything's easy to get, it just seems to bring a lot of bitterness, because your mind is always after something, right? That's just how the human mind works. It always wants something. And back before all this technology was big, there used to always be that sense of wanting, but the wanting was more fulfilled by what they did. They did a lot of things. They had to do their own laundry by hand. They obviously had to make their own fertilizer. They had to plow their own fields. They had to raise large families. They had religious responsibilities. Many people, as a matter of fact, I think everyone was religious back then. And all this brought about a sense of doing something, even if it just seemed very subtle and low-key, nothing much to it. It made the mind feel larger than what it was actually doing. It made the person who was doing these actions feel satisfied. Okay? Nowadays, even though we don't have to do all that stuff anymore because we've got technology, washing machines that do the washing, TVs that entertain us, we don't have to, like in that commercial where they push a hoop around with a stick for entertainment. We don't have to do that anymore. We have televisions, computers, cell phones, all these manners of technology. We're so happy with it all. But in reality, we're not. The reality is we crave a sense of purpose, and a computer does not give you that sense of purpose, nor does a cell phone, nor does a television. These things are all very based on the human mind letting go of that sense of wanting and fulfilling it through day-to-day life. And that's something that all this technology doesn't seem to be producing much of. So when you see all this entertainment that's based on such a medieval culture where there's no television, you have to walk anywhere you want to go, there's no cars, there's no planes, there's barely ever even boats in these concepts. Everything is done by foot, everything is done with hardship, but it's so popular. And why is that? It's because that's what people want. They want that hardship back. Everybody loves medieval concepts. You look at those dilly dilly commercials for Bud Light. Despite the fact that they were far out of touch with what it was really like, at the same time people were quite obsessed with those commercials. The dilly-dilly gimmick was very influential in that, but the main influence behind it was indeed the medieval concept, mixed with a little bit of humor with the Bud Light, and it made for a few fairly good commercials. They weren't great, but they were fairly good, but either way, people did get obsessed with them. And why did people get obsessed with them? The reason why is because people are craving that manner of reality. When you can kind of mix a humorous element into medieval concepts, that seems to gel really well with people because they like jokes. Everyone likes jokes, but when you can mix them with a medieval concept, they like them even more because then they've got that gimmick behind them, that medieval feeling behind them. And who doesn't love the medieval feeling? Answer: nobody. Everybody loves it. It's a big seller for everything. Even a lot of futuristic concepts like Stargate try to kind of get they went older than medieval, they went all the way back to ancient Egypt and all that, but still that idea, right? The Egyptians were more or less the same technology-wise as people from the thousands in the 1100s and the 1200s, and men and women of that era. But that seems to be what the entire world is craving for, what the entire world wants back. And technology is not satisfying that want that we all have of put a little in, get a lot out. You put effort into something, you get happiness out. And that is worth it. And that is the main reason why you see so many concepts about this. Like I said, even movies. There've been a lot of bomber movies based on medieval concepts. A lot of movies that have just been very, very poorly put together. But a lot of the reasons why these movies bombed, you can kind of tell when you watch the movie. There's just a driving sense of not well put together behind it. And same with books. You might say, well, a lot of those medieval books bombed. Well, they do, but that's because they're so poorly put together. They don't pertain to the medieval reality they're set in. All the wizards and dragons that we've seen so many times and they've just been used to death, they don't really make a medieval universe that much better. You need a good story behind it. You can't just expect to ride the medieval gimmick. And same with video games, especially recently, from what I've been seeing of games that are going to be released in 2018, I have been seeing a lot of games based on medieval concepts. That actually wasn't so much the case over the last 10 years or so. A lot of games have actually been based on futuristic ideas. You know, Halo has been really big, and Gears of War, which is kind of a slightly futuristic type of shooter game, was big. Call of Duty future warfare games are pretty big. Those type of games seem to be still the main norm, but we are seeing a lot of medieval concepts coming in. Assassin's Creed has been running strong for a long time. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim was one of the biggest games probably of all time. It might be in the top, 3 biggest games of all time. World of Warcraft, of course, would be another huge one, and it too is based on that slight medieval idea. A little different, obviously, but that idea. So all of this evidence is stating that mankind wants something else. They're tired of all this technology. It's not giving much happiness. And that's apparent, everywhere that's apparent. Suicide rates were never that high back in medieval times. You look at history books, suicide, that was, even among very, very poor people, that was almost unheard of. Obviously, there were some, but it was very rare. And, drugs. Who's ever heard of drugs before the last 100 years? There've never been drug problems before. And if you look at, all these rejects from society who just struggle so much to fit in with society, and they're drinking themselves stupid at the bar just to make themselves feel better. That shouldn't be the case. That never should have been the case. Yes, in medieval times there were problems. Obviously, every time is going to have that, but it seems that we have so many more nowadays, despite everything we have. We have planes. We don't need trains anymore. We have trucks for that. We have boats. We have giant corporations that make billions of dollars. We have charities that do our charity work for us. We have all of the necessities of life are taken care of. So why is everyone unhappy? Answer: necessity makes one happy. Having things that one needs to do day in and day out makes one happy. Thanks for watching, and you have yourself a good day. Be sure to like and subscribe for more.